From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Our speaker is Tomie dePaola. More than 250 books feature the name Tomie dePaola as the illustrator, writer, or both. He has been published for more than 40 years, sold more than 15 million books worldwide. He was the United States nominee in 1990 for the Hans Christian Andersen Award in illustration. The American Library Association has honored him with a Caldecott Honor, a Newbery Honor, and the 2011 Laura Ingalls Wilder Award for his substantial and lasting contribution to literature for children. His latest work is a new edition of his Strega Nona. So welcome, Tomie dePaola.
Gosh, wow. I guess I should run for office. Well, it's very nice to be here. This is my first trip to the National Book Festival. And it's just amazing the number of people that are here on the mall. It's just mind-blowing. I just am really thrilled that this late in my career that I'm able to speak to so many of you. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the format. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, how I got started, et cetera, and then something about the new book. And then I'm going to take questions and give you answers, hopefully. And there are two microphones here and here. So I'll give you a little head start, and if you want to get in line for the questions, we'll do as many as we can. And don't get up yet. I'll tell you what, to get up. Anyway, I'm going to start way back, let's see, 73 years ago, when relatives came to visit my family in Connecticut, where I grew up. I have to make sure I point to you people and then to you people over there. So, but 43 years ago, relatives from the Bronx, Italian relatives from the Bronx, came to visit my family. And my older brother, was the firstborn. And I'm half Italian, half Irish. And but I have to admit, I always identified more with the Irish side of my family. But my aunt asked my brother, Buddy, he was called Buddy, his nickname for Joseph Jr., Buddy, do you know what you want to be when you grow up? And my brother said, yes. He was 8. He said, yes, I want to be Dick Tracy, Joe Palooka, and Buck Rogers. And I said to myself, oh, great, he wants to be a cartoon. And I spoke right up and said, well, I know what I'm going to be when I grow up. And they all said, yes, yes, yes. And I said, no, I am going to be an artist, and I'm going to write stories and draw pictures for books, and I'm going to sing and tap dance on the stage. Now, people used to ask me where the singing and tap dance. Oh, and by the way, when I was like in my middle 30s, I realized I had gotten paid for all those things. Yeah, I was working in a nightclub, singing and dancing on the stage at night, and in the daytime, I was working on the first dummy of my first illustration job. So it was like, what do I do now? Anyway, how many of you remember me on Barney? It's the wrong era, isn't it? Nobody knows who Barney is anymore. I was on Barney 3 times. And the side effect of being on Barney is that every time I went through an airport and went to the bar, I got free drinks because bartenders watch Barney with their children and the first thing in the morning. So it had a great side effect. It's very funny. I have to say this. I get this image of some of you with these church fans. Like you have your church fan. I feel like I'm a preacher up here with all the church ladies with their fans. So anyway, the sun's out. Look at that. The sun is out. Anyway, The reason why I said I wanted to sing and dance on the stage is because my mother loved the movies. My father didn't much care for the movies. My father was a barber. He cut hair. My mother was a housewife. She had babies and read books to me and washed dishes and, did those things that mothers did in those days. And she used to like to go to the movies because my brother was in school. And so she would take me to the movies at the early show before 4 o'clock, before the prices changed. And I had two favorite movie stars in my young childhood. One was Shirley Temple, and the other was Mae West. And someday I'm going to publish the home movies we have of me thinking I'm Shirley Temple, tap dancing on my overturned sandbox. My father built me a sandbox, and no one knows how it happened, but I turned it upside down so it could be a stage. And then there's also home movies of me wearing a hat of my aunt's on the beach, smoking a candy cigarette like Mae West. So those are someday I will publish those. I think that the day is coming because. But anyway, I never changed my mind. I was asked by a fellow illustrator just the other day, when did you decide to be a children's book illustrator? I said, when I was 4. When I was 4. And all it meant was I just had to wait. I had to go to art school. I had to practice. I had to move back to New York because in those days, if you didn't live in New York, you didn't get any work. And find myself an agent, which I did, and the rest is history. I've cut way back. I'm only doing one book a year now. I used to do several, and at one point, early on in my career, I illustrated 13 books in 1 year. I was the Book of the Month Club. But I don't know how I did it, because there's no way I could do it nowadays. But of course, the magic day came when, out of my head, onto a piece of paper, a doodle pad, I'll tell you the whole story. I was at a faculty meeting. I taught in colleges from my late 20s, early 30s. And I was teaching at a small college in New Hampshire where I live called Colby Sawyer College. And we faculty had to go to faculty meetings once a week. And they took attendance at these faculty meetings. I was not allowed as a teacher to take attendance for my classes. So it was a question of the wrong people running the asylum, if you know what I mean. So I would sit in the back row of the faculty meeting, and I had a big yellow pad, and they thought I was busy taking notes, the administration, but I was doodling. You know what doodling is? You just draw. And I was doodling, I had gotten kind of interested in this Italian thing called Commedia dell'arte with Punchinello and Colombina and Arlecchino. And so I was sketching little Italian acting figures. And all of a sudden, Punchinello, who had a big nose and a big chin, had a little kerchief on. And then a little hand, and then a big bosom, and a big rear end. And I said, oh, her name is Strega Nona, and the rest is history. I think there's 8 Strega Nona books out now. I think this new one, the new one is called Strega Nona's Gift, and the publisher has released it early, so it's available here. And it's a lot about food, Italian food. But I just want to know, how many, are there a lot of Italians in the audience? Not too many, but enough to take on the crowd, yeah. Since there's not very many Italians in the audience, I'm going to give you a test. You know that Strega Nona not only sings the magic song to stop her magic pasta pot, but what does she do? Anybody know? What? What does she do? She does something. Yes, what did she do? Right, she blows 3 kisses. And that's what stops the pasta pot. Now, I want to hear, this is a nice big crowd. I want to see if we can send a message to the White House and blow 3 kisses. Okay, ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. That was pitiful. That didn't even get over to the next tent over there. Okay, I know from a show of hands, there's only not very many Italians in the crowd. So, all right, I'm going to have to give you a lesson. Now, I know there's a lot of grown-ups here, but don't be shy. I want you all to do this. Okay, take your hand, either hand, and bend down these 2 fingers. Not everybody can do that. But you're only going to use these 3 fingers, and put those 3 fingers together. Come on, sir. I want to see you do it there. Come on. I think he's done that before. Now, you're going to bend your arm from your elbow. Do not bend it from the wrist. That means something entirely different. Okay, you bend it from the elbow. Now, here's the important part. Take your lips and push them way, way out. Very good, very good. Now, put your fingers on your pushed out lips. Take a big deep breath through your nose. And then go, mwah! Okay. That's a little bit better. Boy, the author over in the other tents are really angry. What are they doing over there? Okay, let's try it again. All right. The first kiss. Get your lips ready, your fingers ready. Put your fingers on your lips. Ma'am, put your fingers on your lips. You too. Just because you got a blue shirt on doesn't mean you're going to... All right, ready? Big deep breath through your nose. 1, 2, 3. Getting there, getting there. All right, we'll try it one more time. Okay. You know, I don't think you're pushing your lips out far enough. No, I don't think you are. And you're not taking this big deep breath and the big... So when I start counting, start that part, okay? All right, ready? Lips. Fingers. Fingers on your lips. Big deep breath through your nose. And 1, 2, 2.5, 3. Oh, that's Italian. I'm going to make you all honorary Italians here. So now all you have to do is you got to say, what do you for? That was great. Well, the new book is all about all the different foods that are cooked during the December holidays in southern Italy, where Strega Nona is supposedly from. And there's all, and the only thing I didn't do, because maybe I'll do it, is have recipes for all the food. But it's a good, fun book. I've been working on my new book for next year, because we always work about a year ahead of time, and I hope you'll all look for it in your local bookstores. It's going to be a Christmas story again. I love Christmas. Those of you that know anything about my work know that Christmas is my favorite holiday after my birthday. I'm distracted here because I love this. Stage select events. 8 by 20 by 24 stage with step unit skirted in black, top black astroturf. I think that's really sounds like Project Runway, doesn't it? Yeah. But my new book is the nativity story, the Christmas story, as told through the eyes of the birds of Bethlehem. So it's kind of a very lyrical story. It'll be a lovely way to tell the Christmas story to very young children, and it will make a great stocking stuffer, even though it's big book. So keep your eye out on that. As you know, I also have started, several years ago now, I started writing my autobiography in my chapter books. And they're all about me. They're called the 26 Fairmount Avenue books. And I will be doing one more big volume. Hopefully, it'll be published this spring or this summer, which will be the last big chapter book. And it's all about my life, and it's all true. I haven't had to make up one single thing. All I had to do was to remember. That's all I had to do was to remember. So, okay, if you have a question, why don't you get up and stand in line by the microphones, and I'll call you. You've got some children. There's one microphone here, too. Oh, gosh, we got some young people, fearless young people. That's great. That's the difference between college students and kindergarten students. You say to kindergarten students, do you have any questions? And their arms all shoot up. And then they say, my hamster died and my daddy flushed it down the toilet. College students, you say, are there any questions? And there's a slight little bounce where they sit on their hands so their hands don't fly up. Okay, sir.
What's your favorite book?
What's my favorite book? Well, if you had asked me that when you were like 1 year old, because how old are you now? 7?
8.
8. Oh, I almost got it. I could get a job at the circus. I would have said when you were only 1 year old, I don't have a favorite book, but my publisher asked me to re-illustrate in full color one of my early books. In fact, the very first book I did that was autobiographical, and I realized when I did the illustrations over for that book, it was indeed my favorite book, and it's a book called Nana Upstairs and Nana Downstairs. Thanks. And it's a true story. It is a true story. Okay, I'm going to alternate. You're next, sir.
Well, that was my favorite book, too.
He's my nephew.
Well, I have a question. How did you come up with the character in Strega Nona, Big Anthony?
Well, I told you how I came up with Strega Nona. She was a doodle. And then I decided to make a Big Anthony instead of a lady, because in the original Porridge Pot story, it's the old lady witch's servant girl. But I decided that was kind of sexist. So I made a Big Anthony into a boy, and he's not stupid. He just doesn't pay attention. And I thought he should look like my cousin Frankie. You have another question?
Mic isn't on. The mic's not on. Well, if Big Anthony may be dedicated to your cousin Frankie.
Is it dedicated to him?
Yeah.
No, it's not. But he knows it was patterned after him. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Miss.
I want to be an artist when I grow up.
You do?
How did you get to be good at art?
I went to art school and studied art. And my mom and dad gave me tons and tons of paper when I was a little boy. And I used to draw on my sheets underneath the covers. And I used to draw underneath the wallpaper. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing either of those things. But I would suggest that you ask your mom and dad if you could, for your birthday or for Christmas, they can give you lots of crayons and lots of paper. And my cousins told me, who were artists, they said, if you want to be an artist, you have to practice, 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 and don't copy. Okay? Can you do that? Great. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Since 1989, I have been reading the art lesson to my 4 children and my many art students. And my name is Mrs. Bowers.
Oh, you're kidding.
For all those 22 years, I've been hoping to get you to sign my art lesson, and I left it at home. Where can I mail it to you?
That's a cheap way to try to get my phone number and address. Yeah, you have to go to, what is it called?
I don't know.
Something.com, boysandgirlfriends.com or whatever. No, you know what you could do? You could send, on my website, What did she do? She gave you her copy? Isn't that a nice thing? Stand up. Great. Oh, what a nice woman. Now see, everyone's mad at you because they can't get my address now. No, I won't sign it. I'll sign it later. No, I won't sign it now. I'll sign it right after I finish, okay? Yeah, stand over there. That's good. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Have you considered a book on St. Nicholas?
St. Nicholas is a tough one because, frankly, Charles Mikolajczyk did a beautiful book on St. Nicholas maybe about 15, 20 years ago. But, it's a little tricky because of the involvement with the Santa Claus legend and stuff. So I haven't really considered one, but who knows? I never say never. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
You said that you like the Ireland part of you more. Why do you keep
When I
saying-
was a little boy, I did, yeah.
Oh.
Because my Italian grandmother wouldn't give me a meatball
That's strange.
because I didn't have a job. And she only gave meatballs to the men that had a job.
That's funny.
Okay, yes, miss.
How did you come up with the magic pasta pot?
Well, I got the idea from the story called the magic porridge pot. And I didn't, but I thought nobody knows what porridge is anymore. And that's like oatmeal. So I thought pasta would be much more fun. Because when it went through the town, it could wiggle and squiggle and griggle. And so, but everybody who's Italian should have a pasta pot. Don't you think?
Maybe.
Maybe? Okay. Yes.
On. Okay. When you were in our class, did you like it?
When I was in your class?
No, our class.
Oh, the art class. Oh, yes. Yes, I did. Except I thought I could draw better than the art teacher. Did you ever make a turkey like that with your hand? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. This is like talking to a rock star for me. So.
Oh, hey.
I have three quick little things. I just visited Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Museum of Art for the Faces of Jesus, and I picked up your book, The Miracles of Jesus.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes, I wished I'd have brought it.
Thank you.
And second of all, one of my favorite books that I used to read to my children at school was Tommy Needs a New Cloak.
Oh, Charlie Needs a New Cloak.
Charlie Needs a New Cloak. And the first time I opened it, it did not have the regular title page. So I said, well,
Yep.
this must be a misprint. So I
Nope.
went and bought another one.
And the
and
same
then I
thing.
realized it. I said, how clever of this. But I appreciated the little mouse
Okay.
from every page to the next page. And
Great.
lastly, the question. What inspired you to do the legends of the paintbrush and the bluebonnet and the Indian paintbrush, since you were more Italian, Irish?
Okay, the question was, what inspired me to do Legend of the Indian Paintbrush and the Bluebonnets, Legend of the Bluebonnets. The bluebonnet is a Texas tale, and the paintbrush is the flower of Wyoming. And I was at a conference, and a teacher came to me and said, we have to teach the legend of the bluebonnet every year in the Texas curriculum. And we need a new version of that legend, because it's the one that we use is very convoluted. So she got me material, and I was just really blown away by this beautiful legend of a little orphan girl's great sacrifice of giving her most prized possession to save her people. And the result was a miracle of all these beautiful bluebonnets just blooming all over northern Texas. So that's how that came about. And then a good friend of mine, Pat Henry, who lived in Wyoming, said, Pat was great. She said, hey, you got to do a book about our wildflower. And she said, and if you do, I promise to get you on a horse. And I said, Pat, I'm not going to get on a horse. I'll try to do a book about the paintbrush. And so when I did, I went there to launch the book. And so her husband had a big sign on their Jeep, Trigger. So that was the Roy Rogers horse's name, Trigger. So I had a ride on Trigger and dedicated the book. So, okay, yes, miss.
Hello, and my name is Mackenzie. And what was your favorite book that you wrote about your life?
That I wrote about my life?
Yeah.
I think probably my favorite book about my life was The Art Lesson.
That's my favorite too.
Oh, good. Another member of my family. I didn't think they were going to make it here. Okay, yes, sir.
Who is your favorite character in Strega Nona?
Oh, well, I like Big Anthony. Because I'm a little bit like Big Anthony. I sometimes don't pay attention. What about you?
Well, I like, I like Strega Nona too.
Okay. I thought since you're so young, you might have a crush on Bombolona. No? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Oh, these are good questions. These are good questions.
What was the year you wrote your first book?
I was 30. And it was like 1964. Okay?
How many books did you write?
How many books did I write?
Yeah.
I wrote and illustrated about 250 books so far.
Wow.
Wow. That's why my hand is so tired. Yeah, sir.
What was your favorite pasta?
What's my favorite pasta? You really want to know what my favorite pasta is? It's fettuccine with lemon and cream sauce.
Almost my favorite.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Almost my favorite.
Almost your favorite. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that one. That's kind of a nice northern dish. Yeah. Okay.
What age did you start writing at?
I was 30 years old. About 15 years later than I thought. Yes, ma'am.
Volevo sapere se hai scritto anche libri in italiano.
No, sorry. No, my father was a child of immigrant parents, and he didn't want, he certainly didn't want to teach us Italian because we were to be Americans, It was very important. And if he had taught us Italian, we would have been taught Calabrese dialect. And no one speaks that outside of Calabria, so that wouldn't have been any good anyway. Okay. But, I never learned to speak Italian. But I can understand what you asked me. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What was the first book you wrote?
The first book that I wrote was a book called The Wonderful Dragon of Timlin. And it's no longer in print, thank goodness.
Take the chicken feet to school.
Yes, I did. That whole thing about the chicken feet and the chicken head is absolutely true. And I have to be very careful about that in large gatherings because about 20 years ago, that book was boycotted. The Tom was boycotted by the Chicken Lovers Association. And, but chicken feet have been in my childhood, because my Italian grandmother would throw them in the soup to make the soup richer. Right.
I have chickens, so I tried it with the rooster.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, you pulling the tendon? Yeah, it works.
It really works. You gave me the idea.
Yeah, my grandfather told me how to loosen the tendon on a chicken foot, and you pull it, and the chicken foot goes like this. So I practiced and put my sweater down and went to school and went garun, garun,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes, ma'am.
What was Strega Nona's gift?
What was her gift? You have to read the book. I'm not going to tell you because it's a surprise. Yes.
Did you get time out when you draw it on the sheets?
They didn't have time out when I was a little boy. No, my mother wasn't terribly happy about it, but I didn't know. See, I didn't know that my mother changed the sheets, and I thought they were under the covers, and they'd be there forever and ever, and no one would ever find them. And I came home from school on Monday, and there's my mother standing with the sheets in her hand. Yeah, but I used to read with a flashlight under the bed, and when I went under the bed and saw all this white space, it was like, I can draw on this. So, and we're getting down to the end of the questions. Yes, ma'am.
What tips do you have for young authors?
For young authors, the same tip sort of as for young artists. The only thing, instead of practice, which you should also do, you should read, and then read some more. It's the most important thing you can do. Oh, no, we're going to go over here, and then you'll be next.
I'm half Italian, half Irish.
Oh, you are?
And
Which half is which?
I don't know.
You know.
And when you were little and your mom would take you to the movies,
Yeah.
what movies would you watch?
Well, I saw Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs by Walt Disney. I saw Little Miss Marker with Shirley Temple. I saw She Done 'Em Wrong with Miss Mae West. I saw The Wizard of Oz with Miss Judy Garland. I saw Fantasia by Mr. Walt Disney. I saw Pinocchio by Mr. Walt Disney. And I saw The Littlest Rebel with Miss Shirley Temple. So I saw a lot of good movies.
I read a book about you. I think it was one of your books, but it was about Snow White coming out or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's in the chapter book. My mother read aloud to us every night, and so I knew the true story of Snow White. And so she took me to the movies because it was a big deal, Snow White, first full-length animated feature. And I was watching it, and my brother got scared, my older brother. He got scared when Snow White runs into the forest and all the trees grab at her. And he said, and my mother said, okay, come on, we're going. And I said, not me. So she said, all right, behave yourself and sit quietly. Well, I was watching it, and I thought, oh, that's great. All of a sudden, the witch comes, the peddler woman. And she gives Snow White the apple. And I said, no. It's the laces first. Because the first thing the witch does is she tightens the laces. And the dwarfs come home, and they have to cut the laces, and Snow White comes back to life. Then the next thing she does is she has a magic comb, and she starts to comb Snow White's hair and digs it into her scalp, and she falls over. And that wasn't in the movie. And I said, where are the laces? Where's the comb? And so this lady in back of me said, be quiet, little boy. So I was quiet. And then at the end of the movie, the lightning bolt comes down and the witch falls off the cliff. And then it said, the end. And I stood up and said, wait, this movie isn't over yet. I want to see the evil queen dance to her death in the red-hot iron shoes. The next thing I know, my mother was dragging me up the aisle. And then someone told me, because I published that story in 26 Fairmount Avenue, that Mr. Walt Disney's company will never make one of my stories into a cartoon. Oh. Can you imagine how they'd change Strega Nona? It would be disastrous. Okay, a couple more questions. We're almost started there, yep.
Out of all the books you've ever wrote, which one would be your favorite?
Well, I said that already, but that's Nana upstairs, Nana downstairs. But thank you for asking me again. Okay? Yes, sir.
I read your book, Strega Nona. I read the book Big Anthony, and my teacher asked us to raise our hand and guess what was going to come next at the end. And I said Strega Nona and was right. And it was right.
There you go. Aren't you smart? That is wonderful. Well, thank you very much for telling me that. That's great. Yes, sir.
Which is your favorite author?
Who's my favorite author? Well, I like a lot of authors, but I'd have to say that one of my favorite authors that writes books for older children and for adults as well is an English author named Philip Pullman. I really like Philip's books a lot. Okay, you next.
What's your favorite Strega Nona book?
Oh, I guess the first one is my favorite. Yeah.
When's your birthday?
Oh, good, I'm going to get a Porsche. My birthday is September 15th. And I was 77. And when I go off the stage, they're going to bring me my walker. Yes, ma'am.
What's your favorite word?
What's my favorite bird? Word. My favorite word is love.
Where was your old studio?
Where was my old studio? Well, I've had studios in a lot of different places because I've lived in apartments and my studio would be part of the bedroom, or I'd get an apartment with a separate room. Now I live in New Hampshire, and I have a 200-year-old barn that's my office and studio, and it's quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful and very, very big. So that's my, okay. Yes, sir.
Help people to keep creativity in the classroom and make sure kids don't think that creativity is kind of only for kids.
These days it's really tough to give advice about that because you teachers have to teach to the test and all that stuff. But I think the best way to keep things creative is to have, just have lots of art supplies around and lots of books, even if you have to bring in paperbacks that you've bought yourself, and just to encourage that, that creative juices to flow with the kids and to have discussions. That's a very good way to do it, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck, huh? Yes.
I see a piece of white paper over there.
Yes.
Would you be willing to draw something for us?
I would, but I'm not sure how it would come out because I have a very bad hand situation.
Okay.
And I'm saving what energy I have for signing my name.
Gotcha.
And so I'm afraid that if I really attempted to draw, it would go all over the place. And I really can't draw big anymore. But thank you for asking. And now, if you want to take a collection, I have a hat. Or like they used to say in the church that I went to, we'll have a silent collection, which means no coins. Yeah. Okay, everybody. I've had a great time this afternoon with all of you. And, thank you. And here's what I have for all of you. Mwah! Thanks a lot.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.